They're always the athlete in the stadium, announced the audience and income. And when he held a meeting at Maracana, he gave 5 times the value of a classic.
It really is, right? And so, one more question that I'm going to ask you. In fact, one question is linked to another, because you're talking about the episodes of the events. I was going to ask you another question for you to get into the famous episode of Davo Desi, to talk a little about it too, but since you mentioned the issue of the Maracana, in reports, they even showed some documentaries that are even available on YouTube if the person searches. In that first one of the first Maracanas that Macedo made, which there was even, if I'm not mistaken, there was even a dead person, it seems to me, and such, those with the money bags.
That, I was there.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you if you were there, because you already said yes. And Macedo today, Universal itself claims that that wasn't money, that was orders mixed with money and stuff. But behind the scenes there, after the party ended, what happened? What is the balance of that party? Something that was not disclosed by the media, which the media did not have access to, no reporter had access to. What happened after the party? Or during the party? The party, right? That I'm going to put the word like this, right?
No, the balance is just the financial value, which was a spherical status. I was 5 times the income of a classic at that time at Maracana.
They left there. Where were they taken to count the values?
I don't know why at the time I wasn't part of this closed group. I didn't have access to this information. Only a few people had access to where I was going. There was a whole security scheme, you know. It was a lot of money. Then there were the workers he recruited trust, which had to be a lot of people to tell, right? And that was everywhere. When he went to Fortaleza, when he came to Recife to hold large meetings, he would finish and go to my house. The first thing he would do was clean the table, put it on top, remove the alimony and count. And he only counted the big bills. He only counted the big ones of 100 of 50.
Really, huh?
The pickles are for you to count.
It's easy. Let me tell you, let me ask you about the episode over there. Talking a little about the Daldesk episode, there will certainly be a lot of people from all over Brazil, interested in wanting to know a little about this episode. Can you tell us a little about how that day was? Where was that game? Do you remember?
That was in Salvador, Bahia.
Oh, it was in Bahia.
We were in a hotel, at a leaders meeting. And at that time I was already disgusted, you know?
See.
You know that feeling you get when you marry a virgin girl, and you love that woman with all your strength, all your heart, and there you go. You find out she was the biggest whore you ever were. Just didn't you know?
I understand.
It was the feeling I had. It started to eat away at me, you know?
Yes.
Exactly this vision that God gave me. And I've always enjoyed filming. I always had a camera where I would take my camera. So much so that there is a video that was also published by the press. They're in New York. When a meeting in a small church ends, everyone is at the back of the church. There was no table. There was nothing yet. Counting the offering on the floor.
Yes, I remember, yes.
I filmed. And when I filmed that, Goncalo said, "Hey, Bishop, this is the car I'm filming. Can you film this?" He said yes, the car is not a problem.
Just look.
So, he never suspected that I might one day film it for use. But this one and I never filmed with that intention. This one in Salvador I already filmed to collect evidence. We were at the hotel and at a certain time we went to play a soccer match. The football ended. We sat there on the edge of the field and he started talking, as always, collection, encouraging the collection, sending the partners from the States to do the exam. What are you doing there that is working? Then you passed it on to the others. Others did too, and I have the camera recording everyone watching.
Yes, I remember that. If you allow me, I remember that in an interview he gave recently, it was not so recent, but he gave an interview by Roberto Cabrini, who is now an employee of Record.
And
He gave an interview to Cabrini. And, no, the curious thing is that most of the journalists who reported on Globo against him, most of them are working for him today, right?
Including, so it is.
Yes, even the late Marcelo Rezende, the late reporter Marcelo Rezende, did that report that is even in the TV Globo video that you are talking about too, saying that he went to the temples of Universal and etc. and such. Beauty. Here Roberto Cabrini did a report, went to Salomon's temple and asked him about Daude's move there, if he said that that was good because he was known. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I watched. I watched. He's a real scoundrel, Edir Macedo, you know? And I say this is not because of a personal friend. No, but yes. He was a very good friend of mine. I was a very good friend of him.
Yes.
My problem is spiritual.
Yes.
Because sometimes people can say that it looks like they have something wrong, that they want revenge, but revenge on what?
Yes.
Vengeance belongs to the Lord, belongs to God.
Exactly.
Now, I just felt good when I witnessed to the whole world what that is all about.
Exatamente.
I felt relieved. And what I told, there were people who said that I earned money from Read Globo, right? I don't know if I would have won. If I had the possibility, if she would have paid, but there was no such story. Read Globo was God who put it in my path, because you know it's difficult, right?
Yes, got it.
Have access to Globe. But me. It was when I left. It had been about 3 years since I had left. Then one day I arrived at work, where I had set up a store in Recife, me and my wife. I came to work and bought the magazine, if you are, and there were, as always, those articles that the press does from time to time against him, right? But in the article inside there was a comment that said, they asked the Universal lawyer and that pastor from Fortaleza who denounced. The lawyer said he was a liar, he just lied, he was unmasked. The magazine in Sao Paulo. Then I identified myself, the guy said, I'll pass it on to you, to the director who wrote the story. I talked to him, then I say, look, I'm very upset because I wasn't heard. He said, look, we tried to hear from you, but we couldn't find you. No one said their age. It's really, at the time I was out of the media. Nobody knew where I lived. Where I was. So far so good.
There.
I spoke. But why are you so angry? What happened? What did you denounce? That I started to tell the guy. The guy said, but you have proof of that. It's documented. He said, so let's do the following. Give me half an hour and I'll give you an answer.
It's okay.
It hasn't even been 10 minutes. The guy called, already saying that I already have the tickets in hand to go to Recife. To do an interview with me for the magazine. And the other day he arrived in Recife, went to do a simple interview. A week went by and the story ended up being the cover story of the story. So where does Globo come in? When I was doing the interview I took some tapes that I had and showed it to the guy. Including this one from Daude's. Then he said like, Infasto, that's all Brazil would like to have, to see. That there is a lot of talk, but nobody shows anything.
Yeah.
Why don't you look for Globo? I mean, I don't know anyone from around the world. He said, I don't have contact with him either. No, such. There it stayed for that. Then there was a lawyer in Recife, Dr. Roberta de Brilina, who I had support as a lawyer for the Universal Church and later she left. She became a very good friend of mine and gave me a lot of support when I left. So, when I was talking to her, I said, look, people said this and that. She said, you can change it. I have a friend of mine who is a doctor and she is a neighbor of Francisco Jose, who is the reporter here in Recife who wrote the article. Much awarded in the press. Then she said, wait a minute, I'll call her. She'll be back in a little while, it's over, we've already talked to him. It's scheduled tomorrow at 8 am here at my house. Bring the tape. Then I went. 8 o'clock sharp.
Francis Joseph arrived.
There. It started quickly.
He said, "Look, guys.
Let's see what you have to show me. Then we passed. She put the tape.
He watched about 5 minutes and said, "It's okay. You can turn off."
It's enough for me. Then she said so.
Look, I came.
Because I'm an award-winning reporter.
Who never failed to check a source. Anything they want to tell me, I'll check, if it's true or if it's a lie, because otherwise I won't get the truth.
She ends up running away from me, and for that I am awarded. He said I came here because this is a work method I have, but I didn't believe there was anything worthwhile. For me, it was more like a shepherd's fight, but I'm scandalized by what I'm seeing. Then he said to me, "Pastor Carlos, what time will you be available for us to talk?"
I said, "This afternoon I have a meeting at the church. After the meeting, about 5 o'clock I'm available."
I was doing it at the time my church called me a meeting, because I did the same as Universal. I thought the spiritual part was right. Today I know it's not. Then when I was finishing, he entered the temple.
I said yes. I went to answer it in the office. That shepherd.
I even had to talk to Dr. Robert Marino.
And for what?
He said that tomorrow there is another Global Reporter of the Year.
And
I asked him and he accepted me to do a special Global report with Mr. G's.
To go on the air tomorrow now, we're going to have to record all night because people are already flying here from Rio because the equipment here in Recife is very old, right? And we have to be with our equipment from Rio.
Then I didn't like it, you know?
I say, no, but wait, my brother, you didn't consult me. You didn't ask if I'm willing to do this.
I am not an employee of Globo. I'm tired.
How am I going to spend a whole night recording?
You decided for me, you bastard, for the love of God.
I put my job at stake and your problem with Jose. And I'm not going to be recording this at dawn.
I'm going home because I'm tired.
You didn't consult me. If I had consulted myself, if I had agreed, fine, but there was none of that.
There he stayed, boy. And left furious.